Hello friends, welcome to Seco Psycho. In this video, you're going to learn methods for studying regions of the brain. Scientists can't be sure what brain tissues really looks like when it's inside the skull of a living person. Nor can they be certain that it looks identical to what of a brain sitting on a dissecting table. How can scientists find out if the brain is intact, if parts are missing or damaged, or what the various parts of the brain do? To study all these factors, there's, there are certain studies which provide an interesting structural and functional specific regions of the brain. How they study. Listening. An electrical current strong enough to kill off the target neurons is sent through the tip of the wire. This procedure is called listening. One way to get some idea of the functions that various areas of the brain control is to study animals or people with the damage in those areas. In animals, that may mean researchers will deliberately damage a part of the brain, after which they test the animal to see what has happened to its abilities. In such an experiment, once the test animal is anesthetized and given medication for pain, an electrode, which is a thin wire or probe inserted everywhere, but at its tip, is surgically inserted into the brain. So this current will kill the target neurons to send through the tip of the wire. So in this process, we will get to know what are the abilities which are lost during the reasoning. It should be obvious that researchers cannot destroy areas of brain in living human beings. One method they can use is to study and test people who already have brain damage. However, this is not an ideal way to study the brain. No two cases of humans are likely to present damage in exactly the same area of the brain, nor would the cases involve exactly the same amount of damage. The second one is brain stimulation. In contrast to listening, a less harmful way to study the brain is to temporarily disrupt or enhance the normal functioning of specific brain areas through electrical stimulation and then study the resulting changes in behavior or cognition. The procedure of stimulating a specific area of a brain is much the same as in listening, but the much milder current in this research does no damage to the neurons. It does cause the neurons to react as if they had received a message. This is called electrical stimulation of the brain, or ESP. It has become an important technique in psychology as it's used in animals and humans under very special circumstances, such as testing before surgery to address seizure disorder, as informers in many areas of investigation, including new direction of therapy. Invasive techniques stimulating from the inside. A specific type of ESP called deep brain stimulation has been shown to be very helpful in some disorders in humans. In this procedure, neurosurgeons place electrodes in specific deep brain areas and then route the electrodes wires to a pacemaker-like device called an impulse generator. It is surgically implanted under the collarbone. The impulse generator then sends impulses to the implanted electrodes, stimulating the specific brain area of interest. DBS has been widely used as a treatment for Parkinson's disease and may play an important role in the treatment of seizure disorder, chronic pain, and possibly some psychiatric disorder. Among other areas, also using DBS for specific disorders allow researchers to learn about other effects DBS may have on the brain, such as affecting an individual's mood or memory. It should be noted that invasive techniques such as DBS are typically only used after all other less intrusive treatments have been shown to be ineffective or whose side effects have been deemed undesirable. For example, DBS is being investigated for the treatment of anorexia nervosa, an individual for whom other treatments have not been effective. Optogenetic, optogenetics. One of the newest and fastest developing area in brain stimulation is optogenetics, where neurons can be activated by light rather than electricity. While currently only used in animal models, it is being employed across a variety of areas to enhance our understanding of the brain, cognition, and behavior. Furthermore, the technique is not only being used to refine existing DVS system, it is also being paired with other methods such as fMRI to further enhance our understanding of brain function in both normal and disordered behavior. If you look non-invasive technique stimulating from the outside, there are also non-invasive techniques for stimulating the brain that contribute to research and our knowledge of the brain in variety of areas. In transcranial magnetic stimulation, magnetic pulses are applied to the cortex using special copper wire cores that are positioned over the head. The resulting magnetic stimulate neurons in the targeted area of the cortex. Longer lasting stimulation results when the pulse are administered in a repetitive fashion, which is referred to as a repetitive TMS. Another procedure called transcranial direct current stimulation or TDCS uses scalp electrodes to pass very low amplitude direct current to the brain to change the excitability of cortical neurons directly below the electrodes. Both RTMS and TDCS are being evaluated as research tools in studies of cognition, such as memory retrieval and decision making, and as possible treatment options for a variety of psychological disorders, including post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD, and depression and physical disorders due to suffering a stroke. Bear in mind that stimulating the cortex may facilitate specific functions or behavior but impairs others. For example, if someone is counting from 1 to 20 and the brain is stimulating in the correct location of the motor cortex, the person's speech would be disrupted. But perhaps stimulating in other parts of the frontal lobe may assist the person in attending to the counting task. Furthermore, the brain has widespread connection, so stimulating in one area is likely to affect other areas. In one study, inhibitory stimulation of the left prefrontal cortex resulted in reduced blood oxygenation on both the left and right sides of the prefrontal cortex. Note that TDCS is not the same as electroconvulsive therapy or ECT therapy, which uses much higher levels of current through the entire brain, resulting in a grand mal seizures and changes in the brain chemistry associated with the depression. So that's all, friends. If you want to know more about other neuroimaging techniques, there's another video below. You can watch it. If you have any doubts, you can comment it. Thank you for watching the video. Have a good day.